everyone, welcome back to Yuka NGO Storyteller. In today's video, I'll be telling you a tale about a place we've all been to, a Peking garage. This story is called Night Shift. It takes place in the aging underground garage of a 13-story apartment building. Over a decade old, everything here feels outdated and worn. A middle-aged man named Uncle T has been working as a night security guard here for over 30 years. For him, this garage isn't just a place to park cars, it's home. Everyone calls him Uncle T, the parking attendant, because he's so dedicated and genuine. The building owner even gave him a small room at the entrance to live in. Today was Saul's first night on the job. At 26, he'd been a taxi driver for 3 years, but had to quit due to some personal reasons. This new job seemed like a good fit. He set up his corner with a kettle, a mini fan, a speaker, and even a teddy bear. Before his shift started, Saul took a walk around the garage. It was clear that it wasn't cleaned often, and there was trash everywhere. Some areas were dark because of broken lights. He found a second entrance that was sealed off and a small shrine near the emergency exit. The garage was so vast that it took him nearly half an hour to explore it. As night fell, the residents started coming home, and the garage filled with cars. Everyone was friendly and welcoming to Saul, making him feel at ease. But as the night wore on, the garage grew colder and colder. Around 10 p.m., Saul made a cup of coffee and watched a movie on his phone. From his seat, the garage stretched out before him like a dark tunnel. After the movie, he turned off his phone, letting the silence envelop him. A gust of wind swept through the garage, almost like someone was breathing. Then he heard footsteps. Saul grabbed his flashlight and shone it into the darkness. It was Uncle T. Uncle T told Saul that he'd been working in the garage for many years and had seen strange things. He warned Saul about the cold, the darkness, and the unusual occurrences in the garage. Uncle T shared a chilling story about a man who had passed away in the garage a year ago, undiscovered for quite some time. Saul felt a shiver run down his spine as Uncle T described the eerie atmosphere of the garage. As the night progressed, Saul couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't alone. Uncle T asked Saul if he saw the incense burner over there. Saul quickly replied,
"Yes, I did. I passed by it this afternoon."
Uncle T nodded solemnly and said that it was an incense burner for the spirits in the garage. Hearing that, Saul felt a chill run down his spine and moved closer to Uncle T. Uncle T advised Saul to drink warm ginger tea to ward off any negative energy. Then, he pointed towards a car and asked Saul if he saw anything unusual. Saul replied that he only saw the car. Uncle T said with a grave expression,
"Human eyes only see the car, but spiritual eyes see differently."
Saul was curious and asked what else he would see. Uncle T murmured,
"Maybe a child's ghost sitting on the car's roof or a female ghost dancing."
Saul was startled by Uncle T's words. Uncle T continued,
"I'm not trying to scare you, believe it or not. It's up to you. But I'm telling you this for your own good. It depends on your heart. If you're pure, no ghost can harm you. All right, I'll go back to my area. Have a good shift."
After walking a short distance, he turned back and said,
"Remember to buy some fruit or a bottle of liquor for tomorrow night. I'm craving it."
Being his first sleepless night, Saul didn't feel tired. He lay on the couch near the garage entrance, drifting in and out of sleep. As midnight approached, the wind blew dust and dry leaves into the garage. Suddenly, a car's headlights shone into the garage, followed by the screech of brakes.
"What is your license plate, sir?"
Saul, still half asleep, asked. A man's voice, deep and distorted, replied,
"I have the 9th ticket."
The man's voice was so strange. as if his mouth was clamped shut. When the man handed Soul the ticket, Soul noticed something sticky on it. Upon closer inspection, he realized it was blood. Soul looked up at the man, whose face was a gruesome mess of broken bones and missing teeth. The man continued to moan and then dashed through the barrier, disappearing into the darkness. Terrified, Soul ran to the restroom to splash water on his face. He couldn't believe what he had just seen. When morning came, Soul finally went home to rest and prepare for his next shift. That afternoon, Soul arrived earlier than usual. He decided to follow the path the ghost had taken the previous night. He reached the end of the garage and turned left, where he found a car covered in a dusty tarp. Soul removed the tarp and, as he suspected, it was the same car he had seen the night before. But now it was old, damaged, and no longer in working condition. He was certain that the car's owner had died in an accident and the car had been abandoned here. Night fell, and Soul was checking the parking tickets when he saw Uncle T approaching. Soul called out to him, but Uncle T scolded him, saying,
What are you shouting so loudly for? It's the middle of the night. You're disturbing the spirits in here.
Soul was overjoyed to see Uncle T and immediately told him about the previous night. Uncle T told Soul to go light some incense outside the garage entrance. Soul said that stories about ghosts were nothing new to him, as he had experienced many paranormal events in the past. Soul told Uncle T about a time when he was a taxi driver and was often led astray by ghosts. He would find himself driving in circles around accident sites or graveyards. He also mentioned a time when the door of his taxi got stuck while passing near a cemetery. Another time, he fell asleep while driving and woke up to find a crowd of spirits surrounding his car. They were thin and frail, some carrying children. They stared at him with strange expressions. Soul was so scared that he couldn't move. Eventually, someone woke him up and told him to leave. It turned out that he had parked his car near a cemetery and had even urinated on the cemetery wall. The person who woke him up said,
You're lucky to be alive. Those spirits could have taken you away.
After that incident, Soul was too afraid to drive a taxi anymore. Uncle T nodded, acknowledging Saul's bravery.
Actually, there are ghosts everywhere, believe it or not. And if you believe in spirits, you should always be respectful. By the way, where's the fruit and liquor I asked for?
Soul realized he had completely forgotten. Uncle T shook his head and said,
You're terrible. You can't even offer me a drink of water, let alone some fruit. You should be more considerate.
Soul bowed his head, filled with regret. In the middle of the night, while playing a mobile game in the basement garage, Soul heard a car starting. The persistent sound of the engine was annoying. Soul looked deep into the dark garage and called out,
Is anyone there? Who's driving?
but there was no reply. Soul took his flashlight and shone it in the direction of the sound. The engine continued to rumble. Soul slowly approached the source of the noise. When he turned the corner, he saw the old car with the tarp. Fear gripped him as he realized the sound wasn't an engine, but a creepy chuckle. With trembling hands, he removed the tarp. To his horror, he saw a human face, fleshy and slimy, where the clock should be. Two severed hands were gripping the steering wheel, and the seat was covered in gore. The face looked at Soul and cackled. Soul screamed and fell backwards. After that, he heard laughter and the sound of engines starting everywhere in the garage. His flashlight went out, and in the dim light, he saw countless figures. Some sitting in cars, some kneeling on the ground, some headless, and some with their heads stuck in car wheels. When morning came, the residents of the apartment building woke up early for work and couldn't find the security guard. Eventually, they found Soul passed out in a corner of the garage. They tried to wake him up, but he was disoriented. One of the morning shift security guards asked Soul what had happened. Soul didn't know how to respond. The guard asked,
"Did you forget to offer incense to Uncle T?"
Soul was shocked. The guard explained that Uncle T had passed away a year ago, and his shrine was located in a room at the end of the garage. It turned out that Uncle T had been appearing to Soul to warn him about the spirits in the garage. After that incident, Soul became more cautious and respectful of the spirits. He continued to work as a security guard and offered incense to Uncle T every day. The spirits in the garage no longer troubled him. And that's the end of our story. Thank you for watching.